right. Well, hello and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I'm going to turn it over to Joe. He's going to introduce our guest panelist today. So,
this is what we get for making any last-minute change at all.
That's how it works.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I saw the picture of you come up and I thought, all right, I'm off the hook.
I was actually thinking I needed to thank you, though, because I think I finally realized how to convince you not to wear the tie.
Yeah. Well, okay, so as Brian was saying, hello and welcome to this edition of the Lunch and Learn series brought to you by ITS. That's Brian. And Human Resources kicks in a little bit every now and then. And
that's Joe.
Me. That's me, all right. Good. So really interesting show for you today. We're excited to get into it, to get started. We have a couple of people who are way smarter than me. I mean, Brian feels right at home, but golly, some of these segments, I'm just like, I feel like I should go in the corner with a coloring book and let me know when it's over. We have Kurt Law from the ITS department with us. Hey, Kurt, how's it going? Okay, so Kurt's mouth moves sometimes and words don't come out.
But we're not getting any audio from Kurt.
That's why we did that.
That's why we do this. Here we go.
All right, there we go.
See, you get to work with these IT guys and they're like, test everything again, please. Just test it.
Buttons, you know.
Right. And then Kurt's going to spend a lot of time with us and Brian. And then near the end of our segment, we're going to introduce more fully. We're going to say hi to him right now, Paul Wilcox, also from the ITS department. Is Paul there somewhere?
Unmuted.
Oh,
there
now
you
he's
go.
unmuted. Hi, Paul. Hey, hang around with us. We're anxious to talk with you here when we get to the end of the segment today. But first, we're going to kick it off with Kurt and Brian for the most part, and they are going to talk about ITS's administrative systems. And those are those systems that hopefully run in the background, and you're hopefully almost never aware of all of the stuff that has to go on with those. But every now and then you'll get an email that says, hey, get off. We got to fix something, and then they'll let you know when you can get back on. So it gets into everything: admissions, financial aid, grades, even our paychecks. So perk up, eat your lunch, sit back, because this is going to be an interesting segment. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good session too. So one of the things that we wanted to do is kind of educate people a little bit more on all of the systems that we have. But we have so many different systems that we thought maybe to try and segment it out a little bit and just go through some of the administrative or more business-oriented systems first might be a good way to start. So Kurt, you want to kind of dive in and go from there?
Absolutely. Glad to. At ATSU, we kind of divide our systems into three major groups. We have the academic systems, which deal with teaching our students. We have the administrative systems, which deal with running the systems in the background, as Joe said. And we also have clinical systems that we use to manage our three clinics that we have here within the university. And finally, we do have research systems that our research and grants area uses to manage their stuff.
So I kind of think of this, Kurt, like a toolbox. And, like when you have your tools, you kind of separate, the electric tools from the hand tools. That's kind of what we're doing with the systems here. These aren't really firm categories. They're just for us for convenience so that we can kind of talk about the systems in different ways.
Absolutely. And we also get into some systems that we don't quite know what box they should belong in. So they kind of bridge both of those boxes here a little bit. So somebody may think of something as an administrative system and we may think of it as an academic system or vice versa. So before I get into details, let me give you just a little bit of background on our systems itself. We purchase most of our major applications. Yeah, it's really much easier and significantly quicker for us to buy them than to custom build them. We get a lot more functionality out of the applications when we do that as well. And we have a great staff that works diligently to implement and configure these systems when we bring them on board, as well as provide ongoing training and support as we use the systems day in and day out. We also have a small development group that does do some systems development. They are mainly dealing in integration between these systems and development of smaller applications that are unique to AT Still University, or just kind of help us do our jobs a little better, and we'll touch on these.
Yeah, it's a good point, Kurt, that we do have programmers on staff, and we do a fair amount of generating our own code, but it's not really related to code that goes back into these core systems. Those core systems are all purchased, and so we depend on our vendors a great deal to do all of the code maintenance and make sure that the systems are working properly.
Absolutely. And our systems do get updated. Some of them get updated once a year when major releases come in from the vendor. And some of our systems, like the first one, the first couple I'll talk about, actually get updated 4 or 5 times a year. And that maintenance usually happens at the middle of the night, and nobody's really impacted with it. So let's go ahead and get started. And I've kind of grouped these systems together a little bit. And we're going to start with systems that manage our potential students, our students, and our alumni.
So Kurt, I don't know if you can see it, but on the screen we've got kind of a big overview of the administrative systems. So what we're talking about, if I'm understanding correctly, are those in kind of that upper right-hand corner mostly?
Correct.
Okay, great.
All right. So our first system is Campus Nexus CRM, also known as Talisma CRM, also known just as CRM. Vendors love to rebrand and rename their products. So as we go through these, I'll also bring up the names that they might be more formally or informally known as. But Campus Nexus CRM is used to manage our prospective students or our leads, primarily for our online admissions group. These are for our online programs. We do process any requests for information from our website for anybody that's interested in programs about that AT Still University offers. So those come in, we track and gather that information with Talisma CRM, and then use that to communicate with those potential students and use that to move that communication forward. The data in this system is really all about people. It's dealing with individuals and what they're interested in, and what we might what value we might give them as they move through their decision-making process, whether to become a student here or not.
That's a good point, Kurt. You say it's all about people, and I was going to ask the question, what does CRM stand for?
And CRM stands for constituent relationship management or customer relationship management, and it is about the people. And in this case, our customers or our prospective students that come to the university. We also track data on contacts or communications with these folks that our admissions group makes, keep track of that contacts and that discussion that we have with those potential students.
So really,
this lots system, of information there.
Really, this system is all about just maintaining information on customers or students, or in some cases it could be other constituents that we may have.
Correct. And it's really designed to maintain information about prospective students, because as we move into the next system, which is called Campus Nexus Student, or also known as Campus View to most of us, this is where we really manage the details about our students themselves. Everything from the residential admissions process through registration, financial aid, student accounts, and also a portal that allows the students to get access to some of their information. The data here is all about students. It's information about their previous education and their test scores coming in. It's about their current courses and their scheduled courses. It's about the grades they got, their transcripts. And like I said, it's also about their financial aid and that packaging and the aid and scholarships that we provide to those students. And then finally, last but not least, all of the accounting side that deals with students. So all the tuition and billing and payments, whether those payments come from the students themselves or from their financial aid group, all of that information about the student is tracked in Campus View Student or Campus Nexus Student, and that is our system of record.
So can I just jump in? You just described in like 5 minutes. You just described 2 systems that touch a lot of people that work at the university. Right?
Yes, Correct.
I hadn't heard of any of that until you said campus view, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I know what that is. That's a ton of people that work and interact with that system daily, probably.
That's a good question, a
Yes,
good point.
day in and day out, people are in these systems or using these to help our customers, which are our students.
So Kurt, kind of define though for Joe, which group is working with, say, the CRM product?
Okay, the CRM product is really focused to the admissions group. They're the ones that deal with prospective students and having students have interest into our university. So that's CRM.
And
Campus
then,
Nexus student is dealing with admissions, is dealing with the registrar's office, the financial aid office, and our controller's office, dealing with student accounts.
and what
So
about
those are
students,
the
Kurt?
people that use it.
Do students ever see anything in campus CRM?
Only emails that we might send them. So we use Talisma CRM as a communications mechanism to send out information about programs, about open houses that we may have, or to keep them or to keep our accepted students informed about things going on in the university between the time they're accepted and they start their classes. So we use it as a communications, kind of a mass communications tool that is very specifically focused on them with their names and their programs and specific information. So
students wouldn't see that system, but they would see Campus Nexus student, correct?
they see Campus Nexus student primarily through the student portal, where they have access to their personal information, and personal meaning where they live, phone numbers, and things like that. They also have access to all of their courses, all of their grades. We don't send students a report card per se. They go out to get their grades, and then they can also print off their unofficial transcripts to see what's out there. And on top of that, our online students, some of the programs now are allowing students to self-register for courses. So to go out and say, wow, these are the courses that are available next term, and I want to take that one and that one, and allows them to register for those courses online.
Where does this data go? I mean, do we use any of that student data or course data? Does it integrate with other systems?
That's a good question. There's a lot of statistics built out of here, but it doesn't really integrate with anything other than we do feed information on courses and registration of those courses to Blackboard. And that's how we keep Blackboard up to date as to who's enrolled in what classes, when a class starts, when a class ends, who has access to those various courses.
Great. So talk a little bit about what happens then when a student applies to school.
Okay, so that's a two-pronged answer here that comes out, because it's really vastly different from our students that are applying to our online programs and our students that apply to our residential programs. So for our online programs, they use a system called AMP. And that is an online system that has various forms that are customized for each program that deal with the application process. So we collect who you are, demographic information, and then any information that the programs themselves want to be able to determine whether they're going to accept the student or not. Some of our programs have licensure requirements that we need to collect that information to make sure they can proceed forward with the program. Others, we just want admissions wants to just understand where they're from, what they've done in their undergrad work, what kind of grades they've gotten, those sorts of things. So we use AMP for processing our online programs and a couple of the residential programs. And then starting this spring, we'll use AMP for the rest of our residential programs as well. And so if I can touch a little bit on residential, most of our residential programs, like our DO programs and our dental programs, the the applicant applies to a third-party servicer or a third-party aggregator, and they go to a website and they fill out their application, and at the end of that process they say, well, what schools do I want to send my application to? And they come down and they check the various boxes. We get that data in, we process that data on at least a weekly basis. And if the applicant meets our minimum requirements for that program, we invite them to do a secondary application to where we ask very program specific questions of our applicants that once again help the various programs review, determine if they want to interview those applicants. So all of that data, today we store it in a couple of different systems. Starting this spring, all that data will be stored in AMP. Okay, so it's used by admissions and by all of the programs who have their admission committees and their screening committees that go through the applications and determine the best students, or the students that we want to accept to our university. So.
All right, so there's
some people, real quick, what some people may not know is we're a very competitive admissions process. So some programs will get 2, 3, maybe even 4,000 applications for just that handful of spots. Whether it be KCOM that admits about 170 students every year, to our ASDO dental program, which admits about 78. So. A lot of applications for very few spots.
So I'm going to test Joe.
Oh man.
So we've talked about 3 systems, and some of those systems at least touch on admissions.
Right.
So I'm wondering if you kind of can summarize from what Kurt said, which systems handle which segments of the application process. So before they actually apply, that's when they're kind of leads and they're just interested in some of our programs. That system would be?
That was the CRM.
Very good.
Names. Okay, yeah.
All right, so checkbox 1.
Yeah, thank you.
Once they apply, then what system do they go into?
I know it as Campus View. I think that's how I hear it referred to most
Close,
often.
but this is for the application process now.
Oh, the AMP.
Very good.
AMP.
So as
it's an energy
applying,
drink. That's way easier to remember.
As they're applying to going through the energy drink, they're going to AMP.
That's right, okay. And then once they're in, they go into Campus View.
You got it.
Okay. I feel like I have it so far. Now, don't let me run too far ahead of you, but it seems like, especially when you were talking about the CRM, and I heard you saying potential customers, potential students, mass communications, it sounds like that could also, there's probably something similar that does like alumni and donor type functions too, right?
Hey Joe, great segue. You must be looking at my notes.
Yeah, I have some notes here, but I had to read them, and that was hard.
So Joe, you're absolutely right. So Campus View student handles our students, but then where do they go from there? So we'd move those into a systems called Talisma Fundraising. It's also known as Campus Cornerstone. It's also known as Donor 2. That was the product a few years ago. And this system manages all of our alumni records. It manages all of our donor records, all the donations and gifts that are made to the university. Is all tracked and stored and reported out of what we call Talisma Fundraising today. So if you're interested in information about our alumni, you would go to Talisma Fundraising, and that's where we keep the most current information on where our graduates are living today, where they're working today, and hopefully how they're giving money to our university.
So Kurt, Talisma Fundraising, Talisma CRM, are they the same product?
No, they are actually different products owned by the same company as Campus View, and it's all owned by a company called Campus Management. So they've gone out and started purchasing other companies, and that's why you see the name changes here. It's purchasing and they're rebranding, and I expect within the next probably no more than 2 years that Talisma fundraising will be called Campus Nexus fundraising. So we'll see rebranding there as well. But in that same light, the vendor is working very hard, and they've been working for a number of years to bring these products together, to more integrate them with each other. So there's much, there's transparency between what systems you're looking at. So.
All right, super. I think maybe let's take a little bit of a break here, and then when we come back from the break, we'll go into the business systems a little bit more and maybe talk about the document management system that kind of overlays both groups. Does that sound reasonable?
Perfect.
All right, so let's go to a little break, and we're going to give you some hints, hopefully helpful hints, on putting together good passwords.
This is Tom. Tom uses the internet every day. He logs into lots of websites, but he uses the same password everywhere. This is Tom's girlfriend, Jennifer. Tom likes Jennifer a lot, so he uses Jennifer01 as his password. But Jennifer01 is a very weak password, and a thief stole Tom's identity. What Tom needed was a strong password. Here's how you can make a strong password. Start by picking a phrase that's easy to remember. Change numbers and words that sound like numbers to numerals. Then use the first letter of each word. Add some special characters, and you have a secure password you can customize for each website you visit. Customize your password by adding a prefix or suffix made from the name of the website. For example, we'll add an Amazon suffix by using the first letter and the next two consonants in the name. Creating secure passwords is easy. Start with a familiar phrase, add special characters, and customize for each website you visit. Remembering these rules will help you stay safe online.
All right, cute little segment there, but hopefully the point is made. Use good passwords. It's really important. So we'll kind of keep banging that drum for people to use good passwords, and we'll even kind of expand it a little bit and start talking about two-factor authentication here over the next few months. So good stuff. So I think, Kurt, let's kind of shift now into some of the systems that maybe even Joe is a little bit more familiar with.
Yeah.
But let's start with one that kind of crosses over. I think maybe we started it in more of the admissions and student-oriented systems, but now is expanded into some of the business systems as well, which is ImageNow. So tell us a little bit, what is ImageNow?
I know Image.
Okay. Great. ImageNow is our electronic document repository. It's the university's chance to start to go green, to quit saving paper, printing paper, passing paper folders around. It's used by a wide variety of folks. Brian's absolutely right. We actually started it in the residential admissions area to make it just easier for them to get admissions documents from the Kirksville campus, where all the mail comes into, to the folks on the Mesa campus who are reviewing those applications. And we saved just literally tens of thousands of dollars just in FedEx costs alone of moving those documents between campuses, let alone the paper and the processing cost of copying that stuff, and the security around that. So we no longer have paper-based applications, so we don't have to worry about those applications lying around on somebody's desk being seen by somebody else, somebody not knowing where they are, where to find them. They're all electronically based. So we, residential is currently using ImageNow for all their residential programs and admissions processing, interviews, that sort of thing. Online admissions gathers that information for those folks, but it's used by a lot of other folks as well. So the Alumni and Development Office is scanning all of their donor information and alumni information and information that that shows up in papers and publications. That's all scanned and stored in ImageNow for future reference. The Controller's Office is using it to store documents. Financial aid uses it to store financial aid types of documents dealing with students. HR and payroll use it. HR, all of our employee records are now digitized, or they're almost all there. So they're not sitting in the basement locked in cabinets someplace anymore. They're all online. Payroll, so all the time cards we actually used to print and keep. Marion Payroll used to keep those in file cabinets. They're now all electronically digitized and available really at a moment's notice there for them. The Registrar's Office keeps all the official documents for the students available electronically now instead of paper-based. And Student Affairs is also using it for some of their document management as well. So it's really a great system, for electronic document repository. And if anybody out there saying, wow, we would like to store our documents electronically too, just let us know. And we'll be more than glad to work with you to make that happen. It's not a difficult process, and it really makes finding and retrieving those documents a whole lot easier than trying to hunt through file cabinets and hope you can find it. So
now, Kurt, this checks a lot of, I'm going to just insert the 2 cents that I know about. This checks a lot of compliance boxes for us too. When it comes to the overhead involved with storing records for 7 years or 10 years or for the lifetime of a person, we don't have to have rooms with file cabinets dedicated to holding on to records forever, right? This will check that in terms of compliance.
This checks that box. It checks the security boxes because all of these documents are secured down to the individual's user ID and strong password. So we, it checks that box, and it also helps check the disaster recovery box. Down there in the basement, if you were to get a flood or something of that nature, you could actually destroy those documents, and now we don't have to worry about the actual paper-based documents being destroyed because they aren't around anymore.
Yeah, so we worry about that in Arizona. I know the floods that come through there pretty often. So.
We do.
Yeah.
So Kurt, you mentioned scanning, but is scanning the only way to get information into the system?
No. Really, there's a couple of different ways. Scanning is really how you can handle an actual paper-based document to get it into the system. But you can also print into ImageNow. So if you have an electronic document, an email that somebody has sent you, a document that's been produced, you can actually print that directly into ImageNow. It's a two-step process. You print it into what we call a holding queue, and then just like you would do with a paper document, you have to tag it and you have to determine what it goes to, what type of a document it is, and where to store it. So that tagging takes place. So if we're dealing with students, it's a student ID in a program that they're in. If we're dealing with HR payroll, it's your employee ID. So we tag those documents just like you would find the folder in a paper-based system, and then they're stored.
So it's a little bit more than just a repository of information. There's actually workflow that could happen. So you start out maybe by scanning paper documents, but you don't want to keep collecting paper documents, but you could still work other types of information into the system, even though it's no longer paper.
Correct. And there is a fairly sophisticated workflow functionality built into this system. Think of a process to where you would pass documents from one person to the next person. They would do something and pass it to somebody else. That workflow can all be accomplished within ImageNow as well.
Cool.
So
nice. So talk to us about the financial systems. This is the one that
Fi-
probably people care about at least a little bit, since that's where our paychecks come from, right?
I'm interested in this one. Yeah.
Yeah, they really do care, especially if something isn't working. But our financial systems they all come from Microsoft, from a product called Microsoft Dynamics Great Plains, or Dynamics, or just GP. Um, Microsoft bought this product, I think around 2002, 2003, and they've been moving it forward ever since that point in time. It handles really what you would consider our back office, activities. So it's accounts payable, accounts receivable, fixed assets, general ledger, purchasing, HR, payroll. Um, those are, some of those systems touch every person, at least once a month, twice a week. But that's really what keeps the financial side of the business running, and it's used by our folks in the controller's office, and obviously our HR and payroll folks as well. So.
Maybe talk a little bit about some of the add-ons that we have to all of these systems, because I know that we've kind of supplemented them in lots of different ways.
Right, and that's very true, Brian, because Dynamics is a great system, but quite honestly, it lacks in a few areas. So we've done a fair number of add-ons for the payroll side of the house. For example, we use a product from a company called Green Shades, or actually several of their products for tax reporting, making pay stubs available to you, your W-2s. We also have Green Shades products that deal with paying our taxes and collecting our taxes to all the different municipalities, and federal and state agencies that we paid folks in. So some of you may not know we're actually set up to pay people in 41 different states. And if you think about, wow, in some of those states you have state sales taxes that need to be collected, and especially on the East Coast, you may even have city or county or parish taxes that need to be collected. So Green Shades helps manage where you live, and what taxes we have to collect, and then manages the process of paying all of those different entities and municipalities for our tax reporting. So that's Green Shades. We have a new system that'll come out late spring called Workforce, and it's time and attendance. So it's to replace our paper-based time cards with an electronic time card, electronic mechanism for requesting time off and approval of that time off. So look forward to that coming this spring. So we're hoping for a May-June implementation on that. So that's just tying into payroll and HR. But we last year we implemented a product called RecNet from a company called Ariat to front end our purchasing system. So it's been rolled out to most of the university. I think purchasing still has a few groups that they need to roll it out to, but it replaces that manual paper-based purchase requisition with an actual electronic purchase requisition process. It has workflow inside of it that routes that purchase requisition to your various approving managers based upon the dollar amounts that they can approve, and moves that forward through the process. So now, instead of emailing or hand walking purchase requisitions to all the people that need to review it and sign off on it, it's all handled electronically, and stuff that used to take days or weeks can happen sometimes in less than an afternoon. So that's a great system for purchasing. And finally, a couple of years ago, we implemented a budget pack, and that's for creating our annual budgets that each one of the department managers have to do. So just a few of the major add-ons to Great Plains. We have a number of other smaller ones, specifically around the payroll and HR side as well. So,
and that's pretty common, isn't it, to have add-on type systems? I know people still ask, well, what system do we use? And it's kind of difficult to even answer that question because there are so many. But we're not unique in that sense, are we?
Not at all. In fact, that's why companies like Green Shades, like Workforce, like Ariat exist. and that is because they take that base functionality that in this case Microsoft provides with Dynamics GP, and they provide additional functionality that that may be tailored to a specific business or type of business, and allows us to pick a package that works best for us. So there's lots of time and attendance systems out there, for example, and we looked at a number of them before we chose Workforce. There's several different purchasing front ends out there, and we looked at those before we picked RecNet. So a lot of them, kind of gear and niche to maybe the higher ed market. Budget Pack is a budgeting system that's geared towards higher ed. And the unique things that go on in higher ed versus, let's say, a manufacturing company or an insurance or bank. So that's why these companies exist, and they do very well. So
Great. So I think we've got just a couple more minutes. Kurt, if you don't mind just expanding a little bit, let's just talk quick about clinical systems, because we don't have a whole lot of clinical systems, but they are pretty core to what we do in some areas. So let's talk quick about those, and then let's also maybe talk about some special types of systems that we have.
Sure, and we'll touch on these a little bit. And once again, if anybody wants to know anything more, just let me know. We have a couple of different systems. We use a product called Nextgen to support our Gutenson clinic, and this is your patient information system or your electronic medical record. So once again, all electronic, but Nextgen, the product, supports all the functionality within the clinic. So everything from your patient records to making appointments to interface with the company that does our billing in Nextgen's case, to prescription management. It's all part of Nextgen. Is our patient management system for the Gutenson clinic. We have a very similar system called Dentrix here at the ASDO clinic here in Mesa. Dentrix and Dexus supports our dental clinic, just in exactly the same way that Nextgen supports our Gutenson medical clinic. Dentrix is used for the patient record, and Dexus is a sub-piece of that that supports all the images. So all those electronic pictures that your dentist takes, and all the what used to be x-rays that your dentist takes are all now electronic images that are stored within the system as well. And then our orthodontics clinic here in Mesa has its own system, once again, that's really geared and driven to support an orthodontics practice, and that product is called Dolphin. So just three of our clinical systems that we do manage, we maintain, we upgrade those systems as well. And you may be thinking, well, wow, what about the St. Louis Dental Clinic? It's not on your list. And they actually use a product from Nextgen called QSI, but that's actually managed by the clinic partner themselves. So we use that system, but we don't have to get in and manage and maintain the system like we do with the other three. So those are our clinical systems that we have at the university. And finally, just some things, some custom-built things that make life a little easier that aren't provided anywhere, so we wrote them. But like the faculty and staff directory, you go out to the portal, you can look that up and say, wow, what's a phone number of somebody? And you bring up the faculty staff directory, type in their name, look in their department, and find out their phone number, their email address, or where they're located. We do a similar thing for student directory. It's available for looking up students, and you're still healthy. Everybody's tracking they're still healthy, how they're doing on attending the still healthy lectures, getting your annual wellness visit and that sort of thing. So that's all tracked there. Just a couple of things that makes life a little easier for everybody every day. But if we didn't have them, you'd end up having to call somebody. And so that's why we put those things together. So.
Kurt, I'm so proud of myself right now, because on my dashboard in the portal, you guys, there are actually widgets that you can install onto your dashboard when you go into the portal. And so I got my vacation balance, I have my still healthy tracking thing, I actually have the directory, and they're all widget-based deals, so I have this arranged workspace in the portal where I know all of those things
so it's
are
just
there.
one click once you
That's
go
right,
to the
and I
portal.
can see them all.
Yeah, it is really nice.
Yeah,
I feel so techie right now, it's unbelievable.
Kurt, thanks much. That's a great overview of kind of the administrative systems, a little bit on clinical systems. I hope it helps people to kind of understand that it's not just one system, it's a wide variety of systems, and we didn't even touch on all of them there.
Sure. And finally, if anybody wants to learn more about these systems or has some questions, please give me a call, shoot me an email, or just a quick note to the help desk will get routed to me, and then myself or one of my folks will get in touch with you and we'll help you out. So it's been a pleasure today.
Thanks again, Kurt. Hey, we're almost wound up, but there's still one more important little piece that we wanted to take some time to do today. I think it's great. I just pulled up my notes on this segment, and it literally says, Joe winging it. So my reputation precedes me, and that's okay. Well, we've got Paul Wilcox with us, and we just wanted to take a few minutes to visit with Paul. He's a new addition to the ITS team, right?
He is.
And if I recall, his title is Support Systems
Manager of Support Services.
Manager of Support Services. I was really close. Paul, are you still with us?
I'm here.
All right, cool. Hey, well, so I'm wondering, and for the benefit of everyone watching, I wondered if you just take a couple of minutes and tell us how your education background, however you feel like running through it, brought you to this place, working in this position at ATSU.
Well, my degree is in information systems management. I'm obviously a long-term infrastructure technical type person, been working for a number of years in this area. What I've realized is that when it boils right down to it, technology is based around customer service, and my job here is going to be specifically based around customer service. So I bring a lot of past experience working for a number of different organizations to the role, and hope to improve things moving forward.
Very good.
Paul's been with us all of a week, so we're kind of putting him on the spot.
It's great. Customer service can never hurt. Never, ever hurt, because there are people like me in the world who know just enough to be really dangerous, and then we need Paul immediately. So I'm curious, you say you've worked in lots of different industries, lots of different companies. What's like probably the most interesting work-related experience or project you've ever been able to work on?
Well, I've done a lot of different things. It's always interesting. I worked for a larger organization where we were rolling out new equipment, and that equipment was being implemented across 46 locations in the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico. And it was interesting how challenging it was to get the equipment from the US into Canada just through customs so that we could actually install it. And so there were some challenges getting all of the equipment into Canada as well as into Puerto Rico, sending the different installation teams from site to site around the United States in the 46 different locations, making sure that all the equipment got shipped to the correct place, and dealing with the situations when it didn't show up and those types of things. So logistically, that was probably the most significant project I've ever worked on, just based on the number of locations and the amount of equipment. We were implementing over 2,500 systems during that rollout. So it was quite a big project.
And I thought for sure you were going to go with the biggest project or the most rewarding project you've ever worked on is your car.
Oh, yes. We've seen pictures
we've got
of the car.
We have a picture.
This was in work hours.
It was, but Brian can't wait to get to it. He's nostalgic. He's reminded of his childhood. This is your car.
When I was 17, I bought a 1967 Chevy Nova when I was in high school. And I later sold that and decided 4 years ago that I wanted to relive my childhood. So I bought a 1966. The 66 and 67 were both the same body style. And I've been, over the course of the past 4 years, just bringing this back to pristine condition.
Wow. And you were telling us a little bit about that the other day. You just recently finished the paint job, right?
Correct. The car was originally built the 4th week of June in 1966. So it'll celebrate its 50th birthday this year. And so I wanted to, I'm trying to get it back to original condition. And we just finished the paint job just recently. The painter had it for approximately 9 months, working on it with other things that they were doing. Just we'd get part of a project done, and then we'd have to order parts, or we'd have to get something re-chromed, and so it took a long time to get through the whole process.
It looks great.
Yeah, well, between the car and the 2,500 simultaneous systems installation, it sounds like we're in pretty good shape.
I think so. I think Paul's going to be a great addition to the team.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to kind of really integrating him in and getting things going. So welcome, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for
Thanks so
taking
much.
a
I
couple
appreciate
minutes
it.
today. Appreciate that.
And thanks to everyone for joining us. We're going to cut it a little bit short today because we've got another live cast that you can turn to. So just stay on live.atsu.edu.
That's it.
And you can check out the next session. Come back to us for the next Lunch and Learn, which will be on March 8th, and we'll be talking about technology and teaching, and more specifically in kind of the anatomy area where we've got some really good technology. Dr. Jay Crutchfield and Dr. Peter Kondrashoff will be with us, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So until next time, thanks much. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.